The room fell silent the moment she raised her hand. It wasn't the kind of silence that came from respect, it was the kind that came from disbelief. The young woman stood there, trembling slightly, her palm raised in a salute that was just a little too perfect for someone the others thought didn't belong. Around her, a dozen decorated officers, polished metals glinting under the fluorescent lights, exchanged smirks and quiet chuckles. Some whispered under their breath. Others didn't even bother hiding their amusement. They'd seen her walk in her plain uniform, the sleeves slightly worn, boots not polished to the shine of those around her. She wasn't part of their world. Not really, or so they thought. But then the Admiral's eyes caught something. His laughter died before it began, because there, stitched onto the sleeve of her jacket, was a small faded patch, the kind of patch that shouldn't even exist. It was one of those emblems you only ever saw in locked archives, sealed behind glass, classified beyond clearance. And the moment he saw it, the color drained from his face. He knew what it meant, and he knew what she had done. Her name was Lieutenant Ava Moore, and her journey to that moment hadn't been one of medals and glory. It had been a road paved with silence, loss and determination that refused to die. She grew up on a small coastal-based town, where the ocean was her lullaby, and the sound of helicopters overhead was her daily reminder that the world was bigger than what she could see. Her father, Commander Jacob Moore, was a Navy pilot, one of the best, until the mission that changed everything. When Ava was 10, her father's aircraft disappeared over the Pacific. Official reports said it was a mechanical failure. The Navy sent medals, folded flags, and words like sacrifice and honor. But Ava never believed it. She remembered the message he'd sent her just 2 nights before he vanished. A short video where he smiled through tired eyes and whispered, "If anything happens, don't stop looking for the truth." That truth would haunt her for the rest of her life. While her friends dreamed of college, Ava spent her teenage years buried in military history books, flight logs, and anything she could find about her father's squadron. She learned about secret missions, operations that never made it to the public record, and pilots who had simply vanished. Her mother begged her to let it go, to live her life. But Ava couldn't. Something inside her, something that felt like her father's voice, told her there was more. When she turned 18, she joined the Navy, not out of pride, but out of purpose. Her journey through training wasn't easy. She was smaller than most, quieter, and far more introspective. The instructors called her book smart. The other recruits called her ghost girl because she rarely spoke but never stopped observing. What they didn't see was that every push-up, every run, every night she fell asleep with aching muscles and tear-stained cheeks. It was all for one goal: to wear the uniform her father wore, to find the truth he died for. But no matter how hard she worked, there were walls she couldn't cross. Clearance levels, files marked eyes only, questions that met cold silence. It was like the military itself wanted her to forget, and yet fate has a way of circling back. It happened 3 years later, during her assignment at a remote naval testing facility. She had been assisting a team in decoding older encrypted data archives when she stumbled upon a corrupted set of flight records, dated exactly to the week of her father's disappearance. Buried in the metadata was a mission codename, Operation Silent Rain. It didn't exist in any official record. But there, attached to one of the mission reports, was a single image, her father's squadron patch, slightly altered, with a lightning bolt cutting through a storm cloud. Ava knew that symbol. She'd seen it once on a patch her father kept hidden in a small wooden box in his closet. She had assumed it was just an old design, but now she realized it was something else, something secret. From that moment, she became obsessed. She began following encrypted channels, cross-referencing names, tracing flight paths that didn't match official reports. She started connecting pieces that no one wanted connected. Until one night, a data stream from an old satellite relay finally decrypted. And she saw it. A live mission feed, time-stamped years before, showing her father's plane not falling, but being intercepted by something unmarked. That discovery should have made her a hero. Instead, it nearly destroyed her career. When she tried to present what she found, her superiors silenced her. They confiscated her files, warned her about classified data, and reassigned her to desk duty, Word spread fast. The crazy lieutenant chasing ghosts. She became the subject of ridicule. The woman who wouldn't stop talking about a mission that never happened. But Ava didn't stop. She recreated the patch, stitched it back onto her old jacket, and swore to herself she would one day make them remember. That day came unexpectedly, years later, during a naval ceremony at the fleet headquarters. The Admiral had arrived to honor officers for service excellence. Ava was there as an observer, not a recipient. She stood quietly at the back of the hall, her jacket clean but humble, the faded patch barely visible against her sleeve. When the moment came for a salute, she stood straight, hand raised, proud but silent. That's when the laughter began. Someone whispered, "Who let the conspiracy girl in uniform?" Another muttered, "She's lucky she still has clearance." But then the Admiral turned and froze. He stepped closer, his eyes narrowing at the patch. He blinked twice as if trying to confirm what he was seeing. Then his expression changed from confusion to recognition, and finally to shock. The color drained from his face as memories long buried seemed to resurface. Because he remembered that patch. He had seen it once, on a classified flight briefing years ago. The pilots who wore it were part of a mission that was so secret, it was erased from all official archives. Only a handful of people in the world even knew it existed, and one of those pilots was Commander Jacob Moore. The Admiral excused himself from the ceremony and called for Ava to follow. Behind closed doors, the truth came out. He told her how her father's squadron had been sent on an unauthorized reconnaissance mission over a restricted zone, and how they had encountered something that wasn't supposed to exist, a foreign experimental aircraft or weapon system, so advanced that the government buried the entire event to avoid international conflict. Her father had stayed behind, manually diverting his failing jet to save the others. He had saved lives, but in doing so was written out of history. The Admiral, holding back tears, confessed he had been a young officer then, one of the few who had seen the classified report. He thought everyone from that operation was gone, until he saw the patch. And in that moment he realized what Ava had done. She hadn't come to prove a theory. She had come to honor a man the world had forgotten. When the Admiral walked her back into the hall, the room fell silent again. But this time, for a very different reason. He stood beside her, raised her hand high, and said, "This woman's father saved the lives of 6 men under my command. His mission may never appear in history books, but it saved a fleet, and she carried that legacy when no one else would." There were no more smirks, no more whispers, only stillness. Somewhere deep in her chest, Ava felt the years of pain, ridicule, and isolation lift, not because she was finally recognized, but because her father was. The laughter that once followed her name was replaced by respect, and as she stood there, eyes glistening, the Admiral's words echoed in her mind. "Some missions never end, Lieutenant. They just pass to the next generation. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that truth, courage, and love never fade even in the face of silence, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who believes in never giving up." Special request: comment below with one word that describes how you felt when the Admiral recognized the patch. Because sometimes, one act of remembrance can rewrite a forgotten piece of history.